Most of the money you'll make with automation that kind of gets you to 10K a month and beyond comes down to one thing, your offer. But in talking to many beginners and freelancers and entrepreneurs in the AI automation space, most have no idea what an offer is or how to come up with one. My name is Salah. I built a sales automation agency that makes 139K per month. And today I'm going to show you how to come up with an offer so good businesses can't wait to work with you using just 4 simple ingredients anyone can understand. So let's get started.
So this is going to be how to build high-ticket offers for your automation agency or sales systems agency. And the reason I'm recording this is because offer building is non-existent in the AI and automation space. And to give you guys some context, when I first got started, I was kind of like that kid, that new kid in the birthday party, blindfolded, spinning in circles, and it was basically just swinging at the piñata. And if you're wondering what's a piñata, it's essentially just a container, and it's usually shaped as an animal or like a character. And it's usually filled with candy or small toys, okay? So the child would be blindfolded and they would spin in circles and they would try to hit that piñata to release what's inside. And it's usually just, like I said, candy or goodies. So I was basically that exact same kid trying to hit something with no direction, with no target. And most beginners, freelancers, and entrepreneurs that are in the AI and automation space are in this exact same position. Without a clear offer, without actually knowing what you're going to be delivering, we're just going to be swinging in the dark, okay? Just like that kid in the piñata. And one of the reasons why this problem exists is that most people struggle to sell automation, but are so good at building it, okay? Like I would say 80% of them are pretty good at building automations. They're pretty good at building workflows. They're pretty good at NA10, Make.com. Some even are developers, so no code for them is basically like, it's so easy for them, okay? But they have no idea how to actually sell it. And they just basically just stay broke and they can't grow in an automation or sales system agency, okay? And I totally understand this. If you are watching this and you are in the same boat, trust me, I feel you, okay? It's not unusual, okay? Most people are like this, okay? But you just need to understand a few things that I'm going to explain in today's video, okay? So I want you guys to understand that I am not the best automation expert, okay? And I know dozens of successful entrepreneurs that aren't experts, but are extremely successful. I was having this conversation with my friend, Nick Sarive. Shout out to you, my friend. And like we both agree on this, if you have the skill, doesn't mean you will be successful at selling automation because you still need to understand client communication, you still need to understand how to build offers, how to talk to prospects, etc. So these are like 80% of the entire pie. 20% is just building, okay? So first of all, what's an offer, Saad? Well, let me explain what an offer is, like a child can understand, okay? So what is an offer? So an offer is clear statement that explains with confidence how you're going to help somebody remove pain in exchange of money. Now imagine you are a chef. Okay, I want you to imagine that you are a chef with only 4 ingredients to make a dish that will feed a hungry crowd. Okay, so you are a chef, you're making a dish. In this case, the dish is the offer, and the hungry crowd is the market or leads or prospects that are interested in working with you and buying your automation or sales system, okay? So the dish is the offer. The hungry crowd is obviously the market / lead / prospects, okay? You can't waste a single ingredient, right? Every ingredient has to deliver nourishment, satisfaction, flavor, or the crowd will essentially just walk away hungry, okay? In our case, the market is gonna walk away hungry and it's gonna go to other people to work with them or buy from them. So that's exactly how your offer should work. It has 4 ingredients, okay? And we can pretty much deduce the 4 ingredients from this explanation of offer. A clear statement that explains with confidence how you're going to help somebody remove pain in exchange of money. And we're going to go back to this statement at the end of this video so we can identify the 4 ingredients that I'm going to explain shortly, okay? Ingredient 1, let's make this blue. 1, clarity. So let's go back to our statement. So clarity, offer is a clear statement. Boom. We're just going to leave it at that way. So clarity. Okay, you guys need to understand that your offer, if it sounds like a politician, nobody would buy your sales system, nobody would buy your automation, nobody would buy any, they wouldn't work with you. Okay, if you confuse, you lose. So your offer has to communicate the value in a very, very simple terms, in a very clear way, right? A child could understand. Okay, let me give you guys an example. Do you guys know why McDonald's managed to crush it and it's a $1 trillion company? Well, it's because they explained it better to investors, okay? So let's go back down memory lane and explain to you why McDonald's were able to get the funds from investors and therefore now they are a successful company. Well, what they've done is there was a pitch deck and they explained it in a way that's super clear to investors. They said, hey, listen, imagine there are multiple people that are experts in one single thing. One that is expert at basically flipping the patties. One is that is expert at making the secret sauce that we're going to be using. One is an expert in assembling the burger. Someone who just handles the fries. Don't you guys think that not only we're going to be more efficient, but our customers are also going to be happy because we're going to get them the food quickly, right? So when they receive the meal quickly, the burger quickly, well, they're going to be happy, which is the reason why they came up with Happy Meal. Okay? So it's very simple. You come in, you're hungry, you come to McDonald's. It's pretty quick in like 10 to 15 minutes. They hook you up with a burger, you eat it, and it tastes pretty good. Well, we can debate that because Five Guys is better than McDonald's, but that's besides the point. So they explained it better, right? So the investors understood this quickly, right? It was very easy for them to understand this. Therefore, they invested in McDonald's, okay? Let me give you another analogy. Let's say you are walking in a park, right? In a very, very sunny day in the middle of the summer, okay? And you see two lemonade stands. The first one is lemonade juice. And the second one is ice cold relief after a hot walk. Which one would you be intrigued or interested to try? Right? I know you're thinking that right now. So the second one, obviously, because it just explains the value clearly. And you're walking in the middle of the day and it's pretty hot and sunny. So you need that ice cold juice relief, right? See how it makes sense now? Another big reason why McDonald's were able to crush it is because when they were explaining it to investors, they were like, not only we're going to be working efficiently and our customers are going to be happy because the food just comes quickly, but also since we're saving time, that way we can make more burgers, and more burgers just means more customers, and more customers means more revenue. Aha. So when investors really, that was like basically the golden, like that was like the final bullet that made investors literally say yes. And this is how I'm going to transition to the second ingredient, which is it has to be revenue focused. This is really, really important. So your offer has to help your clients directly make more money or save more money. Now, I know you might be thinking, Saad, well, what if my automation that I'm building is going to save them time? Okay, that's a good question. Well, let me explain why revenue-focused automations are crushing it and why you're not able to sell whatever automation you're trying to sell. Is because when you're building something that's revenue-focused, it directly impacts, guess what, the revenue of the company and the revenue of the clients, okay? And the biggest fire that any business has or any business has to handle is the fire of distribution. And distribution just means getting more customers, paying them for a long time. That way they can grow, okay? There are multiple fires that are dealing with, okay? But dealing with the most important fire, which is revenue, just makes dealing with other fires a lot easier. Because, I mean, think about it. If you had more leads than you did before, won't you have more clients than you did before? And if you had more clients than you did before, won't you have more money than you did before? And if you had more money than you did before, won't you have a better life than you did before? So it always goes back to leads and customers. So just give them what they want. Just build automation that people want and are willing to pay for it because it solves them a big problem. So it has to be revenue focused because revenue is the most important thing, okay? Revenue is like the life of any business, okay? It's the oxygen of any business, okay? So your offer has to be revenue focused. So the third ingredient is has to solve a pain. So it has to solve a painful problem, okay? A very, very painful problem that keeps companies awake at night, okay? So what keeps them awake at night is 100% going to be revenue, just like we talked about, okay? So solve a real life problem. Don't try to sell something that is nice to have. Sell things that are must have, okay? Must have, not nice to have. What do I mean by that? Is I know you are trying to sell AI infrastructures. I know you want to sell chatbots. I know you want to sell workflows like such as AI proposal generators. I know you want to sell, I don't know, like some crazy AI agents. I know you want to do that. But trust me, let me just give you the real truth. People don't need it. Businesses don't need it because it doesn't impact revenue, and it also doesn't solve a painful problem, okay? If you go to your client right now and you say, hey, do you want more clients? They're going to be like, yeah, sure. So why don't you just sell that? And it took me a while to understand this, by the way. It took me a long time because when I was an Upwork freelancer, I was trying to sell anything, right? Every like automation I could build. And I noticed that 99% of my gigs, right, were actually lead gen systems, cold email systems, sales systems. And then it hit me. I was like, okay, that's a pattern. Why don't I just capitalize on that and use that? And I went all in. This is how I managed to crush my entire competition when most people I knew, most of my peers stayed selling automation. They never scaled. They stayed as a glorified freelancer. And I know you're watching this. You don't want to be a glorified freelancer because you want to be like a glorified freelancer. Let me just make this straight, guys. A glorified freelancer will always be chasing one-off projects, cannot be templated. You're always going to be thinking about the next month. And I know you don't want this because, I mean, I'm assuming you're like me. You don't want to have an inconsistent income. That's pretty scary. That's a pretty place to be in, okay? And I used to be in that position and I didn't like it, okay? And neither should you, right? So it has to solve a painful problem, okay? The fourth ingredient that we're going to be talking about is risk reversal. This is a very, very confusing topic in the AI and automation space. And I blame gurus for explaining this in very, very confusing and, to be honest, like, to be fair, like, very, very wrong way. So I know you listened to somebody and they said in your offer or in your messaging or in your outreach, you need to be mentioning risk reversal. You need to be mentioning the pricing. You need to be mentioning you don't pay. You need to be mentioning refunds. Never mention refunds. And I'm going to explain to you why. Here's the thing about us humans. First, we don't think about logic, right? We don't think about logic first. We think in pictures. We think in images. So when you say the word refund, you think that people hear safety. But it's the complete opposite. They don't hear safety when you mention refund. In fact, they see themselves losing money when you mention refunds. They don't feel safe. They see themselves, you paint a picture of them losing money. They picture the moment of regrets. They picture themselves sending you that awkward email asking for a refund, and in their head, they've made a bad decision. Okay, this is exactly what they think about. And you think that it provides and it gives them safety. Therefore, they're going to be like, yeah, sure, I'm going to work with you because you're going to give me a refund in case this doesn't work. So that's a classical example of, it's called loss aversion. This is a human tendency that we have in our brain because our brains are wired to fear loss more than we desire gain. Think about it. We fear loss more than we desire gain. Even if the chances of success are high, right? Even if the chances of success are high, we still fear the loss more than the high. So just mentioning the possibility of loss when you mention refunds shifts their entire attention to risk. Now, I know you're thinking, Saad, well, what do I say so I can have the dish, which is the ingredients, right, in the risk reversal. Well, instead of saying refunds, instead of saying your money back, here's what to say. This is built to work and I stay involved until it does. Okay? Instead of saying the refunds, here's what to say. And this is coming from somebody who has a 60% closing rate and managed to grow a sales agency to 139K MRR monthly, okay? So in the risk reversal, you want to remove risk without planting fear. Because the moment you mention refunds, people would stop and say, hey, should I be worried? So instead, show them you are confident in the outcome. See how it all makes sense now? Make the results inevitable. Say things like, I'll work with you until it gets you results. Anything that flips the weight on their shoulder without screaming risk. Okay? So let's actually go back to our statements. So what is an offer? An offer is a clear statement. So clear statement, clarity, explained with confidence, which is the exact same thing that we talked about, right? Which is this one. With confidence. How are you going to help somebody remove pain? Which is second thing. Has to solve a painful problem. Revenue focused and exchange of money. Let me give you another recap. So in order for you to grow a sales agency or a sales automation or an automation agency, you need an offer, okay? Because an offer is super mandatory. I know you're watching this and you think that you're just going to sell automation just out of the gate, but you need an offer, okay? You need an offer. Guess what? Now you are equipped with the knowledge and skills and also the thought process and the psychology behind building an offer, okay? So that way you can build offers by yourself. In your offer, make sure it's clear, okay? Clarity. It has to be revenue focused. It has to solve a painful problem. And it has to include a risk reversal that doesn't mention risk, right? That doesn't plant risk. And your offer has to have confidence in the outcome and make the result inevitable, okay? So that's how you build a successful offer in the AI and automation space in 2025. Okay, so the only thing you have to do now is obviously just get out there, take action. I believe in you, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.